I'm usually not a reactive person. Last night I went to see John Wick 3 with the girlfriend last night and the movie was awesome. Walking out of the theater later on after the movie, me and my GF were quick to notice a small parking spot war has ensued behind her car. Looked to me like two young men, each in their own car, were battling for the space that Ariana was soon to vacate. I helped her load the last of her stuff into her car and went to walk across the lot to my Jeep. As soon as I got seated and my engine started, I looked at my GF and she was still in the space. Half backed out of it with both of those cars jammed in behind her. These guys were having a standoff feet behind her car over a front parking space. I drove around and got out of my car. I was livid here and yelled at both of them to move so she could leave and they could continue their BS fight. One guy rolled down his window to protest he was here first and that the other guy was being a dick. Whatever, not my issue. I just wanted us to both leave and let them have their fight. The second car said nothing. I stormed back to my Jeep and waited for my GF to leave. She squeezed her way out and drove over to Dutch Brothers across the street to say hi to her co-workers. I was still near the two guys after she left. I rolled down my window and yelled at the guy in the second car for being so stupid and making her feel like she couldn't leave all over a stupid space. I was angry at this point. The guy stopped his car as he was halfway backed into the space that he had won and got out. He stood up and his first words to me were, "Get out of your car, then let's go." I guess he wanted to fight over this? Not worth it, I thought to myself. I'm not going to fight you over something so petty, dude. I shouted back in anger. Next time learn to be patient for 5 minutes before acting like a total idiot. This flared him up as he had his GF in the passenger seat. I could see the king penguin flare his chest out. What came next was a verbal barrage unlike any I have ever heard before. I like to think I know a lot of nasty words, but this guy was educating me on some other type of level. If you want me to move so bad, then move my car yourself. He would regret asking this of me later. Racial slurs followed by such vulgar and nasty speech. I was in total shock that a human could speak this way to someone else. Over a parking spot. Haha. I drove away and really just did not want to argue with him any longer. I guess I was the loser in that situation, but honestly it just didn't seem worth it. As I drove away, he shouted one last phrase at me. "That's right, run away you P***YN**A. I was shocked. It is sad to see young men act this way. What was even more lame was the fact that a family of 5 was walking about 12 feet away out of the theater with their 3 little girls. I snapped. I kept driving and went over to the next parking lot. I sat about 200 yards away with my car running for about 5 minutes. Watched him park his car and walk inside with his GF. So I made a choice to retaliate just a bit. You can tell me I was wrong for doing this, and honestly, I think I will agree with you on that. But my gosh, did it feel so good. I pulled off to an empty spot and got out of my Jeep. I put my front bumper winch into neutral and spooled out about 6 feet of cable. Tossed the loose cable and drove over to his shitty Honda. Nobody was in the lot, thus nobody was in danger. I checked my surroundings. Hooked the hook on the cable to the tow hook under his front bumper. This ensured no damage to his car in any way. I put the Jeep in follow and slowly backed up. When I left, his car was in the middle of the road. Cars could still get by, but they would need to go around about 70 yards. I don't know what happened after that. My guess is an employee probably had to go find this guy and get him to move. Otherwise, he got towed. Was I right to move his car? No. But technically, he did ask me to move his car myself. And I was oh so happy to oblige. #MaliciousCompliance. Over summer last year, I worked for a hospitality agency, doing everything from kitchen work and pot washing to bartending and front of house. As an agency employee, I was working at a different venue almost every shift, and towards the end of the summer I was asked to work as a waiter at an exhibition center in my city. I arrived wearing my waiter uniform, shirt, tie, smart shoes, to the admin office of the exhibition center around 20 minutes before my shift time, and proceeded to be bounced around between different buildings as nobody could find out where I was supposed to be working. I was the only employee from my agency there. At big events the organizers tend to hire several different agencies, and was in constant contact with my manager back at the office, explaining to her that there was confusion about where I would be working, but I had arrived on time and had parking tickets etc. to prove it. Around an hour passes before I'm finally sent to one of several food stands in the center and told I would be doing pot washing. Now I would never have worn smart clothing if I knew this was the case, as your clothes are guaranteed to get very messy if you're cleaning the greasy pots etc. But at this point I was tired of waiting around doing nothing, so I borrowed an apron and went into the back kitchen of the food stand. It turned out that everything they sold was in paper and plastic packaging, so my only job was to wash out one tray that came in every half hour or so. So I did what anybody would do if they were in the back kitchen alone with no work to do, and started using my phone, just scrolling through Facebook. Around 2 hours later a lady storms into the back kitchen and immediately starts shouting at me for using my phone and doing no work. She then introduces herself as the catering manager in charge of several food stands and is furious that I'm sitting there doing absolutely nothing. I explained to her that I spent an hour waiting to be told where I was working, and I have been washing everything that comes through. It turns out she had been looking for me because I was supposed to be doing pot washing at a different food stand on the other side of the center, and went on to say I will personally ensure you don't get paid for a minute's work you have done today, calling me workshe and being very insulting. Everyone in the front kitchen can hear her because of how loud she is yelling. I call my manager and relay all of this to her, and this is where the malicious compliance comes in, as I had been told that any work I would be doing that day would be unpaid. I had no contractual obligation to do said work. My wage for the day had already been paid to my agency, and my manager's advice was to stay at the center until the end of my shift time. If I was unable to do any work because of an error on their part, I would still be paid by my agency. If I've been told I'm not gonna get paid for even a minute of work, I'm sure as hell not gonna waste time working. The next 4 hours were spent sat on my phone in front of the food stand, getting angry looks from the catering manager whenever she walked past. She called her manager, who called my agency, who then showed them that I had arrived on time, had been sending constant updates on being dicked around, and had been asked to do a completely different job to what I was being paid for. They also told them about the verbal abuse and threats of not being paid from the catering manager. The cherry on top was that this manager was forced to apologize to me, and I earned a full day's wage for basically sitting on my phone all day. So last year, I was in an advanced biology class. In no way am I really smart or anything like that. I'm just really into biology and want to be a biologist in the future. I loved the class and I learned a lot, but the teacher was an insufferable asshole. He was always negative towards my class and would actually call people idiots and tell them they aren't smart enough to be in the class. It always upset me, and I felt bad because it's not their fault they couldn't learn the way he was teaching. It was advanced, meaning people had to express interest to counselors and have above a certain grade in regular biology to even be in the class. So yeah, no one in the class was an idiot. He just sucked at teaching material in different ways. Because of this, and my acute interest in biology, I would help people and make study groups where we can all help each other. We would copy off each other sometimes, but for the most part do our own work and ask for help. The teacher, I'm gonna call him R, anally retentive, found out about our study group through another kid in the class. The kid who snitched, just gonna call him Snitch, told the teacher that we were cheating and that I was the person who organized the study group. As the bell rang, R called for me to come talk to him. I gladly oblige, thinking he was going to give me another extra credit assignment as he usually did. Instead, he gave me a stern and angry look, practically fuming. So a little birdie told me that you are cheating and helping your classmates cheat, he says. I was taken aback. I didn't know who would even say that. We rarely ever cheated off each other, and if we did, it was only on homework assignments. What is all that I could muster? I was beyond confused. One of your classmates came to me and told me about how you and most of your peers have been cheating this entire year and that you have been organizing it. Are you talking about my study group? I ask, beginning to bite my lip and scratch my fingers. Whenever I get anxious, I chew at my lip and scratch the base of my finger till it draws blood. I also stammer and begin speaking English poorly. I don't know why I do it, it's just a nervous tick. He took this as me showing guilt, and that I was lying. Is that what you call cheating nowadays? A study group? Give me a break, I'm not an idiot. Someone already told me what it is, so there's no need to lie. Just stop doing it, or I will kick you from this class and fail you for the rest of the semester. But sir, it really is just a study group. We need the study group because a lot of people don't understand the material, and I say as R cuts me off by waving his hands. I don't want to hear it. It's cheating and I don't condone that sort of behavior in my classroom. They shouldn't even be in this class if they don't understand. If I catch any of you doing it again, you're out. I left the classroom nearly in tears. I not only felt hurt that someone would purposefully put me down like that, but the teacher of my favorite class didn't even believe me when I tried to explain myself. I texted the group chat made for the study group, explaining the situation and apologizing. Snitch decided to be a dick though. He basically became the living embodiment of r/I am very smart. This kid went on a rant about how we shouldn't have been cheating in the first place, how the class was only for smart people like him, and how he didn't want cheating idiots to ruin his chances of becoming valedictorian by lowering the class average. He confessed to doing it while talking about how high his IQ is and how he doesn't even need the study group anyway. The next day, I made an announcement in class that we are not allowed to help, compare notes, or share answers in any way on any assignment or even out of class, or it would be an automatic F. I lost my shit. I was mad at R, and I was mad at Snitch. So, I decided to do exactly as R told me, and did not help anyone else, and convinced my friends from the study group to do the same. If we weren't allowed to help each other, we won't. For the next couple of weeks I refused to help. My friends and I began pissing my teacher off by telling him we can't explain stuff to other people when he asked, because he said it was cheating and not allowed. And oh boy, did that really lower the class average. If you have ever been in accelerated classes, just know that studying and getting help is very important. Hell, if you have ever gone to school at all, you know that it's important. You can't learn by forcing information down your skull. It's almost impossible if you don't already mostly understand the topic. With finals coming up, well, all knew this would affect our grades. The final was 80% of our grades, so if we failed it, we failed the class. But R said no, so oh well, what could we do? I wasn't about to get kicked out of my favorite class. The results from the final came in and not a single person in the class got an A. The highest grade in the class was a C+ and the lowest was an F. It was the worst we've ever done on a test ever. R, being the asshole he is, decided to confront us all in class about it. He went on about how we're all idiots and began reading off every single test score and humiliating the people who got Fs. And guess who was one of the only 3 people who got Fs? Fucking Snitch. Turns out he did actually need the study group as much as the rest of us. To everyone's surprise, one of the people who got an F spoke up. You want to know why everyone bombed the test? You took away our study group. You should have been studying anyway, even without the group. R proclaimed. A lot of us can't study without some sort of help. Staring into a textbook that you already don't understand doesn't help, this girl said. She was getting more and more frustrated and looked on the verge of crying. And I don't blame her. Then you should ask someone for help. R says, clearly annoyed at this point. But you told us not to help each other, or we would get an automatic F. We were just doing what you said. I was shocked at how she was handling the situation. I had never seen us so red before. I don't know how it is for most people's schools, but at mine, we are not allowed to retake finals. Our final score is what we have to deal with no one getting above a C+ on the final. Everyone in the class had a C+ final grade or lower. With everyone doing so poorly, it made the teacher look really bad. I like to believe it prevented him from getting a promotion or something like that. All I know that happened was that someone else took over for him. I like to believe his job was given to someone else because of how bad our grades are, but in all honesty I think he just retired. If you enjoyed the stories, Slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.